ही सुना और मुझे भी उसी कैटेगरी में समझिए कि बोलना है, समझना है नहीं मालूम। तो दोस्तों, ये जो आज का टॉपिक दिया गया है मुझे, वो बड़ा धांसू किस्म का टॉपिक है। वेरी टेक्निकल नाम है, वो नाम देख के मैं घबरा गया। क्या है सर वो, ज़रा टेक्निकल नाम पढ़िए।
Reclaiming the public sphere.
हाँ, रिक्लेमिंग द पब्लिक स्फीयर इन न्यू लिबरल हैदराबाद। अब आप मेरे नहीं समझ में आया तो आपके क्या समझ में आएगा? आप स्टूडेंट्स हैं। ये हमारे जनाब जो अभी बात करे, बहुत अच्छी बात करे, बहुत रिलेवेंट बात करे, मगर आपकी बातचीत में इतने ज़्यादा कोटेशंस थे कि सिर्फ कोटेशंस ही कोटेशंस थे। तो मेरी आपसे गुजारिश है दो चीज़ों की कि एक तो थोड़ा आहिस्ता बोलिए, हमारे ऐसे लोग समझ सके। ऐसा रफ्तार की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, आवाज़ की ऊंचाई की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ। और दूसरे ये कि हमको समझ में आने दीजिए, आप जो रेफरेंसेस दे रहे हैं वो एकेडमिक रेफरेंसेस हैं, डेफिनेटली हैं, और उनको समझने की भी ज़रूरत है। मगर जब हम अवामुन नास से बात करते हैं, व्हेन वी स्पीक विद द कॉमन मैन, वी हैव टू हैव अ लिंगो विच इज़ अंडरस्टूड बाय देम। मैं आपको पुराने शहर की ज़बान में बात नहीं करूँगा क्योंकि वो भी समझ में नहीं आएगी बहुत सारे लोगों को। तो मैं आपकी मेरी ज़बान में बात करने की कोशिश करूँगा। दोस्तों, ये नियो लिबरल मैं जानने की कोशिश कर रहा था कि इसके माने क्या हैं। मैं उसमें जाने की बजाय कि वो नई आज़ादियाँ क्या हैं, आई वुड ट्राई टू टेल यू व्हाट हैपेंड बिफोर 1948 एंड व्हाट इज़ हैपनिंग नाउ एंड व्हाट हैज़ हैपेंड इन बिटवीन। I think that will give us a sequence to understand Hyderabad. Hyderabad was almost a monarchy. Why almost? Because it was not an independent kingdom. It was a princely state which worked under the Mughals before 1724 and which started working under the British Raj from 1857. तो इस फ़र्क को समझ जाइए कि क्या हैसियत थी हैदराबाद की। हैदराबाद के हम 7 निज़ाम्स की बात करते हैं। There were 7 निज़ाम्स beginning from मीर अली खान to Usman Ali Khan. In between, normally we do not talk about the other Nizams because as Daud Ashraf, an excellent authority on archival resources in Hyderabad, says that these were the only 2 important Nawabs of Hyderabad and the others did not matter. For instance, he used to tell me that there was a Nizam who was having a diabetic problem. So he was told that he should stop taking sugar as much as possible or take less sugar. So he decided to cut down on his laddus. He used to eat laddus every day. So what he did was he made 2 laddus of 1 kilogram each, and one in the morning and one in the evening. So that's how he cut down on his sugar levels. When we talk about Usman Ali Khan, we will not talk about Khamruddin Ali Khan because that is too far in our memory. Usman Ali Khan was a visionary sultan and a miser. Miser for his personal life. He did not change his sherwani and topi, rumi topi, for several days together. But he is the person who brought about a revolution in Hyderabad by constructing public utility buildings, which includes High Court, which includes Usmania Dawakhana, which includes Assembly building. These are all built by, which includes Jagirdar College. This is called Usmanian architecture. And you will be surprised to note, we keep on talking about secularism and non-secularism, but one characteristic of this man was that he never built a mosque in his name. Even when he built Usmania University, which is symbolized by the architecture of Arts College, the main building, there is no mosque there. And the architecture of Arts College is not Islamic. It is Indo-Saracenic. There is also lots of Hindu element in that architecture. So when we talk about this, and I think you spoke about it, that when he wanted, or Mahbub Ali Khan wanted, or he wanted to safeguard Hyderabad from floods, he invited a person who is not a Muslim. Vishveshwaraya was brought in from Karnataka and appointed the person and given the entire complete authority to change what he wants, to build what he wants. So his administration was not based on communal lines. His administration was based on the efficiency of the person, the relevance of the person. Just now, Anuradha Reddy ma'am said that her relative was Kotwal, or the commissioner of Hyderabad. Maharaja Kishan Prasad is another example, who was the Prime Minister of Hyderabad twice. At the same time, I would like to tell you the disparities in this administration. The disparity was a large number of Muslims were in the government service. When he established Hyderabad, he did a wonderful job, but 11 of the 12 judges were Muslims. What was he trying to say? What was he trying to do? These are two things which will continue to confound us, confuse us. Any piece of it? Thank you, sir. Now we come to the end of Usman Ali Khan's rule. In 1937, he observed, celebrated the silver jubilee of his rule from 1911 to 1937. It was actually 26 years because he could not celebrate it a year earlier because a world war was going on. So he had to stop and wait for a year. I think you should all visit a museum which is located in Purani Haveli and see for yourself what was his contribution during that time. They have the replicas of everything, almost everything which was built during or before his time. When the movement for independence picked up speed in the northern parts of India, it started having effects on Hyderabad too. In Hyderabad, Congress party, we do not know whether they opposed Usman Ali Khan or they supported Usman Ali Khan or they remained neutral. Because one of the persons who supported and who was a protege of Usman Ali Khan, Mrs. Sarojini Naidu, was sent by Nizam for higher studies to England and she's the first Hyderabadi to go there and go for higher studies. But Sarojini Naidu in later years veered towards the national liberation movement. And I was speaking to Mrs. Ismat Mehdi, who comes from Jagirdar family of that time, Mehdi Nawaz Jung, Mehdi Ar Jung and all that, and who was closely related to the person who gave us the Nara of Jai Hind. She told me that there was a group of Muslims, and this is also a recorded history, who were Muslims but were fighting for liberation, not for liberation, fighting for a democratic state. Whichever is possible, they wanted to do that. Somebody spoke about Bahadur Yarjung. He is not the founder of Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin. He is a later leader. Jafri Saab would be able to talk about his ancestors better than me because he's from the Majlis party.
पहले जर्नलिज्म में है ना
अच्छा पहले even in journalism he is senior to me.
पहले 40% in journalism.
जी जी जी
30% is politics.
अच्छा हुआ आखिरी के 30%. अच्छा ओके सर, मैं जाफरी साहब की बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ, एहतराम करता हूँ और मेरे बहुत ही करीबी दोस्त हैं. वी हैव बीन फ्रेंड्स फॉर नियरली 45 years now. So I can cut jokes with him, I can take liberties with him. What I was trying to tell you that the rule of the Nizam was a mixed rule. ये जो कहानियाँ हैं कि हिंदू मुसलमान मेरी दो आँखें हैं और दोनों बराबर हैं, अब हमको नहीं मालूम कि एक आँख की जो बीनाई है वो कम है या एक आँख की बीनाई ज़्यादा है. मगर there was some problem with these two eyes. They were not aligning themselves when he was watching something. So here comes the last stage of his rule where people wanted to assert themselves. There were two parallel movements that came into existence at that time. One was the communist movement or the armed struggle, and the second was the initiation of Razakars. Razakar is like RSS, Swayam Sevak Sangh, and they wanted to do things which Nizam could not do on his own. And there was a gentleman whom I can, after lots of studies, say that he was a maniac. His name was Qasim Razvi, and he was heading the Razakar movement. And he was claiming that one day we will go to Lal Qila and hoist the flag of the Nizam. He was crazy and he was creating problems for the Muslims who wanted peace in the state, who wanted to live peacefully. What happened was police action took place between September 13 because all the attempts which were made by the Nizam, there are several books on this, the negotiations that went on between the Indian government in Delhi, particularly Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was the Home Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, and the Nizam's government. There was a time when Nizam had agreed to lots of conditions placed by the Indian government, and he has signed a document and he wanted to send the document to Delhi. Qasim Razvi and his men got the wind of that document because they never wanted this to happen. They just went to Nawab of Shitari, who was the Prime Minister at that time, who used to live in Raj Bhavan, and they attacked him and they tore off the document into pieces. So the attempt of Mir Usman Ali Khan to have a peaceful agreement and coexistence with the Indian Union did not fructify, did not happen. Now, there is a twist in the tale. There is always a twist in the tale. What happens is, for more than 1 year, J.N. Chaudhary was made the military administrator or the martial law administrator of Hyderabad. Under him, lots of things happen, good things happen, bad things happen. It is said that his focus was not on Razakars, but he was focusing on the communist rebellion. My understanding of the history is that he was focusing on both of them. As was said by our colleague a little while ago, numerous people, Muslims, were removed from the job, and many of them escaped to Pakistan. I am talking about the Razakars. Many of them were put in the jails. But surprisingly, even today, the number of Razakars is not clearly known. How many of them were Razakars? And how many of them were working for the Reddys and the Velmas, whom we called at that time Doras, to protect their lands from the Razakars or whatever movement was coming in. So it's a very debatable part of Hyderabad's history, which has to be learned properly, which has to be relearned properly. So what happens is, in 1948, when Nizam decides to take up the matter at the United Nations Security Council meeting, he sent a delegation from here to that place. And what happened was, in the meantime, the military barged in and took over the reins of the authority. Usman Ali Khan sent a telegram to the delegation to stop. But the delegation had already registered its nomination to talk on the question of Hyderabad. What happened was, he was deposed, Usman Ali Khan. Some agreement was reached with him, and he was asked to come to the Hyderabad radio, which is All India Radio, and give a speech on the accession of or annexation of Hyderabad into Indian Union. This puts a stop to an era, and from there General Chaudhary comes in. Within a year of that period, there were two things which happened. We need to know, when we want to know about Hyderabad, we should know that the massacres of Muslims, Musalmanon ka jo genocide hua, I am using the term genocide consciously. वो जो हुआ वो मराठवाड़ा रीजन में हुआ, जो 5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स थे उस जमाने में, और कुछ जो हुआ, बल्कि ज़्यादा कुछ जो हुआ वो गुलबर्गा डिवीजन में हुआ. वहाँ पे 3 या 4 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स थे हमारे, गुलबर्गा, बीदर, रायचूर. दिस वर द मेन 3 रीजन्स. ठीक है, मगर तेलंगाना जो था हैदराबाद का, वो लार्जली, I would say very largely, it remained safe, it remained undisturbed on the surface. But what happened was, the Muslims lost the courage. Muslims got scared, and they started feeling the fear. They could not sleep properly at their homes during nights. The mosques got deserted. The Muslims could not muster the courage to go for the Jamaat prayers in the local mosques. This continued for some time, and in 1951, Indian Union used a wonderful method to retain Hyderabad as it is and declared Usman Ali Khan as the Raj Pramukh. Raj Pramukh is equivalent to the governor. In name, he was there. And Usman Ali Khan, realizing the change, the revolution, also wrote a couple of poems in Persian and in Urdu in praise of India, in praise of Jamhuriyat. On January 26th, he wrote a poem, and then on August 15, he wrote a poem. There are two poems at least available in archival records. So this is the story. So what happened? Now there is another story which runs here, which is the deprivation of Muslims or the ouster of Muslims from the government jobs, from businesses, and they were coming on the roads and they had nothing to fall back. I remember a story from a family of Khurshid Jah. Khurshid Jah was the prime minister in the Asif Jahi times. One of his sons, one of his relative, was seen in Charminar area running a rickshaw, hiding his face in a shawl. Somebody found out that he is the same person, and we realized. What does it indicate? It indicates the fall of Muslims economically. It indicates the fall of Muslims politically. We have to understand this. Rashiduddin Khan writes in an article that in Hussaini Alam area, basically in Ghansi Bazar area, there was a family that was living there, a Muslim family, and the lady of the family used to put out an empty katora or a bowl outside her door, which had a parda. And she used to collect it in the afternoon and then again in the evening. And with that meager amount which people used to put in that katora, they used to run their house. This has to be understood properly, how the Muslims fell from the ruling class to a class of people who were miserable in that state. During this time, there might have several other Muslim families. Hyderabadi Muslim society has division of the Jagirdars, the top class, and then we have the rich class, and then we have the middle class, then we have the lower middle class, and then we have the poor class. Poor class, lower middle class, and middle class formed a major chunk of the population of Hyderabadi Muslims. This has to be understood by classifying everything what we have in this manner. 1956 में जब रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट्स हुआ और तेलंगाना को आंध्र प्रदेश में मर्ज कर दिया गया, जिसका बड़ा प्रोटेस्ट हुआ, तेलंगाना के बहुत सारे लोग, बहुत सारे लीडर्स never wanted it to be merged in Andhra Pradesh, but that happened. And from the same year, protest against that merger started. Muslims also wanted to have a separate Telangana, separate state, along with because they believed that the culture and the relationship with the other communities was excellent. दोस्तों, ये इस बात को भी एक झटका लगता है। फिर उसके बाद में आपके 69 में जब तेलंगाना एजिटेशन शुरू होता है फॉर सेपरेट तेलंगाना, जो वायलेंट भी हो गया था ऑन ओकेजन्स, उस एजिटेशन के दौरान पहला फसाद शुरू होता है, कम्युनल राइट. इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम 1969 and then it moves on, it picks up speed, and it goes on and on and on. Jafri Saab is a man of numbers and he has a wonderful memory. He might be able to tell us how many people, how many Muslims might have died in those communal riots, which are in hundreds. The last major communal riot, which was more a political riot than a communal riot, took place somewhere in 1984 when N.T. Rama Rao was removed from his job as chief minister. There was a riot again. On that riot, I'm just trying to tell you that started from Abbott's or Muazzam Jahi market and continued up to the end of the Abbott's area, up to the tank, Sikandrabad tank. Up to that point, they kept on going, destroying the Muslim properties. So, when N.T. Rama Rao came to power, he decided to put an end to the communal riots. He succeeded to a large extent. Then came the rule of, let's say, in the TRS government. During the 10 years of TRS government, there was no major communal riot. Though some Muslims were killed, targeted killing took place of people who were allegedly involved in some terrorist activities. You know, terrorism is a very debatable term as far as the Muslims are concerned. So ये कहानी आपकी चलती है इस ज़माने तक. Now we come to the present situation. Present situation में ये है कि हैदराबाद का जो पॉपुलेशन है, आपके 4 करोड़ के करीब जो तेलंगाना के लोग हैं, उसमें से तकरीबन जो मुसलमानों का पॉपुलेशन है वो 13% के आसपास है. About 13% are Muslims. Muslims have a mixed dealing with the government. They have been given reservation, 4% reservation by the previous Congress government. But that reservation is not fully implemented. Yes, it is being implemented and it is being contested in the Supreme Court. We don't know what is going to happen. Now, this gentleman has come to power. We don't know. I am confused about our present Chief Minister. He has good relations with Adani. He gives him contracts. He brings him in to do something. Just over about 2-3 months ago, when the Adani had a major problem running with the Congress leaders in Delhi. And now, only 2 days ago, he joins a protest against Adani. So we don't know what is he doing and what does he want to do. मैं अपनी बात को समेटते हुए ख़त्म करना चाह रहा हूँ, ये कहते हुए कि 2 चीज़ें कहना चाहूँगा मैं. एक तो मुसलमानों को इस बात पर गौर व फिक्र करनी चाहिए कि क्या साउथ इंडिया के जो स्टेट्स हैं, can they merge together in some form? Because we want to get rid of the problems which are happening in the north. We don't want a Madhya Pradesh here. We don't want an Uttar Pradesh, reputation of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, even Gujarat. We don't want that. We are largely in the south a peaceful people. We do not carry the stigma of the Muslim quote unquote destruction, though we had fights between Muslim Rajas and Hindu Rajas. So therefore, please think about talking about, Tamil Nadu has already started talking about this, that we should have a confederation of the southern states to keep ourselves safe and keep ourselves moving ahead. Otherwise, we will continue to be dragged down by the politics of the North. One of my colleagues, my senior, King Shuknag, he was editor of Times of India in Hyderabad. During an interview with me on siyasat.com, he said the capital of India should be shifted to the south, maybe in Rayalaseema. I don't know why Rayalaseema, but he said Rayalaseema. So, दोस्तों, बहुत ज़रूरत है कि आज के जो हालात हैं वो बदलें, और मैं ये समझता हूँ कि मुसलमानों का एक बड़ा रोल है, मुसलमानों का तहफ़्फ़ुज़ है इस इलाके में, साउथ में, उसको स्ट्रेंथन किस तरीके से किया जा सकता है उस पर तवज्जो देने की ज़रूरत है. प्लीज़ ट्राई टू take down your North Indian approach to the politics of India, cut it into South and North and see what can happen. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया.